Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Ever wondered how the biggest moments in history ripple through everyday life, fundamentally reshaping everything from, the clothes we wear to the chairs we sit on, even the very spaces we inhabit?
Oh, absolutely. It's something, isn't it?
Well, today we're diving headfirst into an era that did just that. A world reeling from an unprecedented global conflict. A time where old certainties just crumbled and society itself was being completely reimagined.
Yeah, it was a true crucible, really, forging incredible innovation, not just in politics and social norms, but profoundly beautifully in art, in design, and in the way we literally built our world.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Moments of such profound upheaval often act as powerful catalysts. When the world is turned upside down, people naturally seek entirely new ways to understand it, to rebuild it, and, well, to express its altered reality.
Exactly, and this is particularly true for creative fields, right? Artists and designers aren't just reflecting the times. They're actively shaping the future, pushing boundaries, and imagining what comes next. It's kind of their job, in a way.
And that's exactly our mission today. We're venturing into an era defined by a world war, the emergence of a truly new woman, and a complete reimagining of what art and living spaces could be. Our goal is to unpack how two groundbreaking movements, Stijl and Bauhaus, emerged from this tumultuous period and absolutely reshaped our visual world.
It's a compelling story, really about breaking free from the past, embracing revolutionary ideas, and leaving this indelible mark on everything from high fashion to, the very structure of modern homes.
So, to help us navigate this fascinating period, we've pulled together a fantastic collection of articles and research, really digging into the political, social, and artistic landscapes of the early 20th century.
We'll be specifically focusing on the origins, philosophies, and lasting impacts of both Stijl and Bauhaus. Our aim is to hand you the most vital insights, those surprising tidbits that make you say, uh-huh. Essentially, a shortcut to being truly well-informed about this pivotal moment in design history.
Okay, so let's set the scene and jump right into the post-war crucible that forged this design revolution. Where do we even start?
Well, to understand the radical shifts in design we're about to explore, we really have to grasp the seismic event that preceded them, World War I.
Right, not just any conflict.
No, this wasn't just a regional conflict. It was a global cataclysm, tearing apart the old world order from 1914 to 1918. We're talking about a conflict of unprecedented scale and horror that utterly shattered long-held certainties across continents.
Yeah, think about the sheer scope of it. It escalated so quickly.
Exactly. It pitted the Central Powers, primarily Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Turkey, against the Allies, which included France, Great Britain, Russia, Italy, Japan, and then from 1917, the United States. A world war in the truest sense.
And the trigger.
Yeah.
That assassination.
Yeah, its immediate spark was the assassination of Austrian Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo in June of 1914. But the underlying tensions, they were immense, and the devastation that followed was just staggering.
And the human cost. It's almost unimaginable.
It really was. When it finally concluded with the defeat of the Central Powers, some 8.5 million soldiers had died from battle wounds or disease.
8.5 million.
Imagine that number, 8.5 million lives lost. And beyond the sheer statistics, consider the psychological and societal scars left behind. This wasn't just a political upheaval, it was a collective trauma.
A trauma that demanded a complete reckoning with the past, didn't it? And a desperate search for something entirely new.
Precisely. And that profound sense of loss, the shattering of the old order, brings us directly to the Treaty of Versailles.
Ah, yes, Versailles, signed in 1919.
Right. This was the primary treaty from the Paris Peace Conference, signed on June 28, 1919, in the opulent Hall of Mirrors at the Palace of Versailles, and it officially came into effect in January of 1920. It effectively closed the chapter on World War I, but its terms were, they were controversial, to say the least.
Especially for Germany, right? The provisions were incredibly harsh.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about significant territorial cessions with German lands given to neighboring countries. Other German territories were placed under international supervision. Germany was stripped of its overseas colonies.
Faced severe limitations on its military capabilities, and perhaps most cripplingly, was required to pay enormous war reparations to the Allied countries. Just mountains of debt.
Exactly. And while the treaty did create the League of Nations, ostensibly to prevent future conflicts, those incredibly punitive terms, especially for Germany, left a deep, enduring scar. Imagine the humiliation, the immense economic hardship this imposed.
It's almost palpable how that backdrop would fuel a desperate need to, turn their backs on the past, as you said.
Definitely. For artists and designers, particularly in Germany, it wasn't just about starting fresh. It was about literally and figuratively rebuilding from the ground up, seeking an entirely new kind of order and purpose. You can practically feel that urgency in the designs that followed, can't you?
You absolutely can. And it's fascinating to see how this desire for radical change wasn't just confined to politics or grand architectural visions. It seeped into the most intimate aspects of daily life, like fashion.
Right. Perhaps nowhere more visibly than in fashion. The emergence of what we now call the new woman in the 1920s, with her bobbed hair and freer silhouette. It wasn't just a trend, it was a sartorial revolution that truly embodied this turning away from the past.
And it wasn't overnight, was it, this image we have of the flapper?
No, not at all. This evolution, often pictured as an overnight transformation, actually took around 10 years, starting just before World War I. The fundamental shift in silhouette was the revelation of the lower part of women's legs.
Which sounds minor, but it changed everything.
It really did. This seemingly small change put a completely new emphasis on shoes and, perhaps even more importantly, on stockings. Suddenly, flesh tones and soft pastel colors replaced the dark, heavy stockings of the previous age, often made of real or very shiny artificial silk.
A visible break from the restrictive fashion norms of the Belle Epoque, that opulent pre-war era.
Exactly. That era of corsets and elaborate dresses. It was like fashion itself was shedding its old, constricting skin.
And the dresses themselves, they became so much simpler.
Incredibly simple. Think of a simple striped dress with a Peter Pan collar and matching cuffs. A few darts in the side seam, just above the low waist, allowed for a small bust, almost completely eliminating traces of the hourglass figure that had dominated for so long.
Less structured and easier to make, too.
Exactly. This simpler, less structured cut also had a very practical side. It made replication much easier for dressmakers, democratizing fashion to a degree and moving it away from bespoke, highly restrictive garments.
But simple didn't mean boring. Right.
Not at all. While the basic silhouette was simplified, it didn't mean a lack of styling options. Drapery and deep pockets could add width to the hips, or other elements could be used as fashion statements to enliven the basic form. It was about creating adaptable, less rigid clothing, allowing for movement and a different kind of freedom.
Which makes perfect sense for a society trying to adapt to a completely new reality. Like, clothes became a metaphor for freedom.
Precisely. And at the heart of this sartorial revolution was Paul Poiret.
Ah, the king of fashion.
Truly a larger-than-life figure in Parisian fashion. Known as Le Magnifique in Paris and the king of fashion in the U.S., the New Yorker in 1927 credited him with having helped to change the modern retina. Quite a statement.
It really is. And his style. What defined it?
Well, three key aspects really stand out. First, a theatrical Orientalism, which brought these exotic silhouettes and vibrant colors into mainstream fashion. Second, an unprecedented talent for branding and promotion. He was one of the first true fashion personalities.
And a third.
A blending of clothes with avant-garde art. He really saw fashion as an extension of artistic expression. Poiret began his career auspiciously, working for Jacques Doucet and then the House of Worth, two top houses. But it was when he opened his own Parisian couture house around 1903 that he really set about overturning Belle Epoque fashion values.
And his big move, getting rid of the corset.
His revolutionary act, corset liberation. European women had been practically enslaved to a corseted waist since the Renaissance. From 1903, Poiret made it his ambition to free them from the petticoat and then the corset in favor of looser, leaner lines.
Others were doing it too, though.
Yes, others, like Madeleine Vionnet, also endorsed corset-free fashion. But Poiret, with his vigorous self-promotion and flair for the dramatic, truly stole the limelight. He championed a direct, unconstrained silhouette.
And this connects directly back to the design movements we're focusing on.
Absolutely. This social and aesthetic liberation in fashion, the breaking away from rigid, constricting forms in favor of simplicity, leaner lines, and freedom of movement, directly mirrored the broader desire for functionality and a radical break from traditional forms that was emerging in art and architecture.
It was all part of the same zeitgeist, wasn't it?
Exactly. A pervasive cultural mood, a yearning for something new, something modern, that truly reflected a post-war world, unburdened by the past.
And it's precisely this spirit of breaking free, this yearning for something simpler and more reflective of a new post-war age that brings us directly to Stijl.
To steal the style.
Right. Born in the Netherlands in 1917, this movement was a radical push towards pure abstraction. And it fundamentally changed how artists and designers saw the world. It was actually named after a magazine published by its participants, wasn't it?
Yeah. That magazine appeared until 1927, serving as a platform for their revolutionary ideas. And its distinguishing features are immediately recognizable, almost like a visual manifesto.
The black and white, the primary colors.
Exactly. A strict use of black and white with primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, along with rectangular forms, and a deliberate embrace of asymmetry. The key figures included architects like Gerrit Rietveld and artists like Theo van Doesburg and Piet Mondrian.
And their focus was really on pure abstraction.
Primarily concerned with concepts of pure abstraction in painting and sculpture. These ideas had certainly surfaced in Cubist art, think Picasso and Braque breaking down forms into geometric planes, but artists like Mondrian, Jean-Art, and Theo van Doesburg took those concepts to their logical limits, seeking an absolute universal language of form.
So, given that context of the world being turned upside down, was it almost inevitable that historicism fell into disrepute? What made abstract form so compelling for them?
Oh, it was absolutely a conscious philosophical rejection, fueled by the times. Historicism, the idea that art should reference or be rooted in historical styles, was seen as part of the old world that had just imploded.
Right. The world that led to the war.
Exactly. After the unprecedented carnage of World War I, there was a deep desire to shed everything that represented the past, to find unical principles that transcended national borders and cultural baggage. Abstract form, with its focus on pure geometry and color, offered a way to build something entirely new, something pure and orderly in a world that felt anything but.
A universal language.
Precisely. And the mention that these Dutch artists may well have known of Wright's work, referring to the American architect Frank Lloyd Wright, that just underscores this broader global current of modernism emerging, a shared impulse to simplify and innovate.
That makes perfect sense. They were searching for a universal grammar of design. And that brings us to Wassily Kandinsky, often considered the pioneer of abstract art.
Yes, Kandinsky. While not strictly a de Stijl artist, his foundational work in stripping away representation was crucial to the development of abstraction. Born in 1866, living until 1944, he's widely regarded as one of the most important innovators in modern art, both as an artist and a theorist.
In his early work, it wasn't totally abstract.
Well, what's particularly fascinating about his early abstract work is how he still retained bare references to the natural world to keep art from descending to mere pattern making, which he called non-objective art. He used colors and barely recognizable forms, maybe a cannon here, a tall building there, as hints, but they were almost dissolved into the overall composition.
And that story about his improvisation painting, that's incredible.
Oh, it's a fantastic anecdote. The one from 1920, now at the O'Hara Museum of Art. Imagine the scene. While preparing for Composition 4, Kandinsky became exhausted, went for a walk. Gabriel Minter tidied his studio and completely innocently turned his canvas sideways.
Just turn it on its side.
Right. And here's where the magic happened. Upon returning, he saw the canvas but didn't immediately recognize it as his own work. He was completely detached from his own intention.
No, his reaction.
He fell to his knees and wept, saying it was the most beautiful painting he had ever seen. This experience, much like his first viewing of Monet's Haystacks, which ignited his interest in the pure effect of color, liberated him from attachment to an object.
Wow.
That's the real insight here, the profound realization that art's power might lie not in what it represents, but in its sheer form, color, and line, in its intrinsic emotional and spiritual resonance. It's like the universe itself was whispering a new truth about abstraction to him.
An accidental masterpiece that fundamentally altered his artistic path. Amazing. And then we have Piet Mondrian, who truly pushed abstraction to its furthest limits, taking this idea of universal harmony and making it concrete.
Yes, Mondrian. Recognized as the purest and most methodical of the early abstractionists, he radically simplified elements in his artwork in an effort to reflect what he believed to be the underlying order of the visible world. His approach was almost monastic in its strictness.
The limited palette, right?
Absolutely. He limited his color palette to just black, white, and the three primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. His use of asymmetrical balance and that incredibly simplified pictorial vocabulary were absolutely crucial in the development of modern art, influencing countless artists and designers.
And his tree series shows that process.
Perfectly. It illustrates this process of increasing abstraction, acting almost like a visual lesson in reduction. You start with a fairly representative depiction of an apple tree, still quite naturalistic, and then as you move through the series, you see it transformed, becoming progressively more abstract, until the third most abstract part, which becomes truly non-objective. It's a visual journey into ultimate simplification, where form and line become paramount.
His later work, like Composition 2 in Red from 1930, is so iconic.
A prime example of his mature style, instantly recognizable, a pure expression of his philosophy.
And his reasoning for keeping things flat. No illusion of 3D.
Deeply philosophical. Mondrian believed that since paintings are created on a flat surface, that flatness should be respected. Artists, therefore, shouldn't try to create the illusion of a third dimension. Furthermore, he saw lines and color as the essence of art.
So they needed to stand alone.
To be seen clearly, these essential elements should be separated from specific forms to which the viewer brings personal associations. To achieve this universal neutral quality, to tap into a truly universal harmony, he used the simple, unadorned rectangle. It was a very deliberate, almost spiritual pursuit of ultimate clarity and order in a chaotic world.
Connecting it to a universal or neutral form, stripped of personal bias. Makes sense. And De Stijl wasn't just confined to painting, was it? It moved into architecture and interior design, too.
Absolutely. It permeated those fields, translating those two-dimensional principles into three-dimensional spaces. Theo van Doesburg, one of the founders, developed many architectural projects on paper that had considerable influence, even if his only fully executed architectural work was his own small house at Meudon.
A living canvas, almost.
Pretty much. There, abstract forms and primary colors were literally translated into three-dimensional compositions. He also applied these principles to the Café Lobet, an entertainment center in Strasbourg, bars, ballrooms, a cinema.
Using those geometric forms inside.
Yes, Van Doesburg utilized De Stijl's abstract geometric forms to generate a strikingly modern interior. In the cinema dance hall, for instance, films were projected onto a central screen, while patrons occupied geometric booths or danced. He even collaborated with Jean Arp and Sophie Talber Arp on the abstract designs.
Pushing boundaries. How is it received?
Interestingly, these radical designs were disliked by the public when the complex first opened, which really highlights how far ahead of their time these ideas truly were. People weren't quite ready for a world made of pure rectangles and primary colors yet.
That's so often the case with groundbreaking art, isn't it? But perhaps the most iconic architectural embodiment of De Stijl is Gerrit Rietveld's Schroeder House in Utrecht.
The Schroeder House. Fantastic example.
It constitutes both inside and outside a radical break with all architecture before it, making no attempt to relate to its neighboring buildings, despite sharing an exterior wall. It's a pure, self-contained statement.
Like a three-dimensional Mondrian painting you can walk through. And it's truly dynamic. That's one of its most innovative aspects. The upper level of the house was fitted with sliding panels.
Sliding panels, so you could change the layout.
Exactly. Allowing for individual rooms to be screened off or for the entire space to be opened up completely into one fluid area. This flexibility was revolutionary for domestic architecture, moving away from rigid, fixed rooms.
And the colors.
The typical De Stijl color scheme, crisp white planes, black lines, and vibrant splashes of red and blue, perfectly enlivens the rectilinear geometry of the space, creating a sense of movement and visual tension. Rietveld worked intimately with the resident and designer Truus Schroeder on it.
And furniture was integrated too.
Yes, it even integrated furniture like his famous red and blue chair, showcasing a truly holistic design approach, where every element, from the walls to the furniture, was part of the same artistic vision.
And we also have Jacobus Ude's work, the Scheepvaartstraat.
Right. Scheepvaartstraat. This was his first design in a series of white housing projects and earned him immediate international recognition for its clean, functional aesthetic.
What did it look like?
The elongated wall of housing is divided into two equal parts, with rounded ends that contain shops with all-glass fronts on the ground floor. It's a testament to how these abstract, highly conceptual principles could be applied to practical, even public, housing, bringing modern design to everyday life.
Okay, let's shift focus now to furniture. The Stijl principles seem even more strikingly pure there.
They are. Originating in Holland after WWI, De Stijl furniture embodies the philosophy's three basic elements with unwavering commitment: the rectangle, saturated primary colors, and asymmetrical balance. These pieces weren't just functional, they were sculptural manifestos.
And the red and blue chair by Gerrit Rietveld, that's the icon, right?
The quintessential example of this philosophy made tangible. Rietveld himself stated that the framework of furniture must be made of simple square elements that are screwed together. The chair's construction is deceptively simple. Two sheets of plywood serve as the seat and back.
Held by that cage of wooden strips.
Exactly. Held in a precise, almost floating relationship by a structural cage of wooden strips. The genius is in the articulation. The connections are made by hidden metal pins, ensuring that each structural element, the individual strips of wood, is clearly articulated, standing on its own, not blending into a mass.
And the colors define the parts.
Precisely. The three primary colors, blue for the seat, red for the back, with black and yellow accentuating the structural elements, are introduced. Each color highlights the function of a specific part, making the structure itself a work of art. It's a pure expression of form and color, a complete rejection of traditional upholstery and ornamentation.
Then there's the Z chair, also by Rietveld. Even more abstract.
You could say that. It's made from just 4 flat wooden rectangles, forming a geometric, almost gravity-defying shape. Only primary colors in black are introduced within a generally white and gray scheme, highlighting its geometric simplicity.
These pieces really illustrate the broader elements of de Stijl's style, don't they?
Exactly. One of those overarching principles was simplicity. A clear break from decorative tradition, a complete rejection of 19th century fussiness and ornate embellishment. They demanded a minimalist approach, a reductionism, paring down design to its essential elements.
Function over ornament.
Function was much more highly regarded than ornament, which they considered regressive and symbolic of an outdated era.
And the shapes themselves were new.
Totally new shapes, not traditional curves or organic forms. They were strange new forms. A blend of the organic and geometric, maybe influenced by Christopher Dresser's art botany, which turned 19th century naturalism into extreme and abstract forms. It was about finding new visual languages for a modern, mechanized age.
And graphic design played a role too.
A significant role. Modernists absorbed influences from painting and graphic design. Bolshevist propaganda posters in the constructivist style, for instance, with their bold geometric layouts, helped spread abstraction, making it a familiar visual language.
Like the typefaces.
Yeah, typographers at the Bauhaus, which we'll get to, rejected heavy German black letter type for simpler sans serif styles, free of ornament, seen as more universal and modern.
But interestingly, there was still room for luxury materials.
Somewhat surprisingly, yes, in bespoke commissions. While the movement championed simplicity, designers like Frank Lloyd Wright and Joseph Hoffman produced grand integrated designs that sometimes incorporated animal hides and leather for coverings and upholstery, satisfying clients' taste for luxury within a modernist framework. It wasn't about cheapness, but a new kind of luxury defined by clean lines and quality materials.
Not excess ornamentation.
Exactly. However, it's important to put de Stijl's overall impact into perspective due to its few members, short life, and limited accomplishments in terms of widespread adoption.
Its influence wasn't as obvious.
Right. Its direct influence has been less obvious than that of the pioneers in Germany and France. Yet its foundational principles, the purity of abstraction, the emphasis on basic elements, the strict use of primary colors and geometric forms were profoundly impactful intellectually. They laid crucial theoretical groundwork for subsequent movements.
Like the Bauhaus.
Exactly. Which brings us right to it.
Okay, so let's transition to Bauhaus. A movement that took some of these foundational ideas and synthesized them with a new vision for industry, education, and social purpose. Founded by Walter Gropius in Weimar, Germany in 1919. And, like de Stijl, shaped by the war.
Yes, absolutely. The Bauhaus was inevitably shaped by the aftermath of World War I. And that crushing Treaty of Versailles we talked about, forcing Germany to give up land and imposing severe economic restrictions, that played a massive role.
So that sense of humiliation fueled it.
Definitely. In the wake of such a humiliating defeat and widespread disillusionment, Bauhaus designers consciously turned their backs on the past, ignoring tradition and convention. They felt compelled to reassess the fundamental nature and purpose of good design, not just aesthetically, but ethically and socially.
A radical departure. A desire to rebuild not just structures, but society itself through design.
Exactly. The school later moved to Dessau in 1926 and sadly closed in 1933 due to intense Nazi hostility, as the Nazis viewed its modernist, internationalist ideals as degenerate. But its core concepts were truly revolutionary.
The synthesis of technology, craft, and design.
Right. Characterized chiefly by the synthesis of technology, craft, and design aesthetics, with a strong emphasis on functional design in architecture and the applied arts. They wanted to unite art and industry, bridging the gap between artist and artisan.
And the House am Horn, that was an early example.
A tangible example of this philosophy in practice. The 1923 exhibition home, designed by Georg Musch and furnished entirely by Bauhaus students. Imagine walking into this home. It offered a glimpse into domestic interiors, true to Bauhaus ideals of economy, durability, fitness for purpose, and aesthetic merit.
Every object designed with purpose and beauty.
Exactly. It was a living manifesto, demonstrating that good design could improve everyday life for everyone.
And in terms of architectural innovations, Walter Gropius, the founder himself, a major figure.
Oh, huge. Widely regarded as one of the pioneering masters of modern architecture, alongside Mies van der Rohe, Le Corbusier, and Frank Lloyd Wright. His Bauhaus buildings in Dessau are noted as the first to use curtain walling.
Curtain walling, explain that again.
It's an approach where the exterior walls are non-structural, purely serving as a skin, often made of glass. This allowed for vast expanses of windows, flooding interiors with light, and radically changing the exterior appearance of buildings.
Like his Vegas shoe factory.
Right, the Vegas shoe factory, an earlier work by Gropius, is another significant contribution, an early example of modern industrial architecture that prioritized light and air.
Then there's Ludwig Mies van der Rohe.
Mies, universally known as the pioneer for skyscrapers, whose influence is still felt in every glass tower that punctuates our cityscapes. He sought to establish a new architectural style that could represent modern times, just as classical and Gothic styles did for their own eras.
And his style.
He achieved this, creating an incredibly influential 20th century architectural style defined by extreme clarity and simplicity. His famous sayings, "God is in the detail," and "less is more," perfectly encapsulate his design philosophy.
Less is more. Iconic.
For Mies, every element had to be essential, precisely placed, and contribute to the overall purity of the form. He believed that stripping away the superfluous revealed the true essence of a design.
And we have to mention Lily Reich here.
Absolutely crucial to acknowledge Lily Reich, who worked incredibly closely with Mies van der Rohe. She was an integral part of his vision, playing a significant role in the interior design of exhibitions, including the famous Barcelona Pavilion, and in the design of furniture, often credited solely to Mies.
A collaborative force.
Definitely. Her keen eye for materials and spatial arrangement was clearly integral to his aesthetic. She was a powerhouse in her own right, shaping the look and feel of modern interiors.
And the German Pavilion in Barcelona, 1929. A masterpiece.
An architectural masterpiece and an archetype of Mies' style. It's not a building in the traditional sense, but a flowing, open-plan design, deliberately asymmetrical and single-story. It was supported by slender steel columns.
Eliminating the need for conventional exterior walls.
Exactly. Instead, irregularly placed expanses of rich materials like polished steel, luminous green glass, travertine, and deep red onyx served as intersecting walls, defining areas without enclosing them. It created this sense of continuous flow of light and reflection.
And that open plan idea, hugely influential.
What's truly remarkable is how the open space, which had no identified rooms but screen walls of glass and marble to define spaces, has been a key influence on modern ideas of interior planning. Think about open concept living today. Its roots are right here.
And the furniture was part of it too.
Yes, the famous Barcelona chairs and ottomans are visible in their original positions within the pavilion, showing how furniture was not merely placed in the space, but was an integral part of the overall architectural vision.
That concept extends into residential design with the Tugendhat-Haus.
Brilliantly. Mies van der Rohe's Tugendhat-Haus, completed in Brno, Czech Republic in 1930. The idea of radical openness is strikingly apparent in its living area. Huge floor-to-ceiling glass walls.
That could actually be lowered into the basement.
At the touch of a button. Literally making the house a totally open pavilion, blurring the lines between interior and exterior. It's incredible.
Imagine that experience. Stepping right out into nature.
And the furniture inside is Mies' own design, custom-made for the space. Color comes from the inherent beauty of richly veined marble and fine polished wood used for the screen wall elements. You see the warm glow of the onyx walls, the crisp reflection of the steel columns.
And those cantilevered chairs that almost float.
Exactly. The openness of this plan, in which living spaces omit walls of separation, has exerted great influence on subsequent design. It fundamentally changed how we think about home layouts, moving away from compartmentalized rooms to fluid, integrated living spaces.
And these ideas were spread through exhibitions.
Yes, the impact was further amplified through influential exhibition housing groups. The Weissenhof-Siedlung in Stuttgart, Germany, built in 1927, was truly groundbreaking. It included homes designed by leading modernists like Mies, Le Corbusier, J.J. Piet, and many others.
All furnished by the architects and open to the public.
Right. Encouraging widespread awareness of modern living and having a considerable impact on German design directions. It was a public demonstration of a new way to live.
And there was a similar one in Vienna.
A comparable exhibition, the Werkbundsiedlung, was introduced in Vienna in 1930, featuring designers like Joseph Frank, Adolf Loos, Joseph Hoffmann, Richard Neutra, even Gerrit Rietveld from De Stijl showing that cross-pollination. This also had a comparable impact on the Austrian public.
So these exhibitions were crucial for getting the ideas out there.
Absolutely crucial, moving them from theoretical drawings to tangible, livable spaces that people could experience. And we should certainly acknowledge Peter Behrens here, an architect noted for his influential role in the development of modern architecture in Germany, and a true pioneer in the field of industrial design. His AEG turbine factory is a key early example.
Okay, let's talk Bauhaus furniture. This really gets to their focus on mass production and new materials.
It does. The educational philosophy at Bauhaus fundamentally rejected traditional art education. Instead, it replaced it with direct teaching focused on understanding of color, form, function, and technology. Students learned by doing, often starting workshops focused on specific materials, metal, wood, textiles.
And Marcel Breuer, key figure in furniture.
Huge figure. As a director of the cabinet-making workshop at Bauhaus, his reputation was based squarely on his invention of tubular steel furniture. He saw the potential of this industrial material to create lightweight, strong, and mass-producible designs.
Like the Wassily chair.
Exactly. The Wassily chair, originally designed for Wassily Kandinsky's quarters at Dessau Bauhaus, was truly revolutionary in its use of a bent steel frame. Made of polished, nickel-plated steel framing and simple leather straps, a stark departure from traditional upholstered chairs.
And he did others too?
Oh yes. The Scheska armchair, featuring a cantilevered arm, a woven cane seat and back, and metal tubing. And the Isokon chair, later in his career, known for its elegant bent plywood construction. Breuer truly pushed the boundaries of material use in furniture.
And Mies van der Rohe's furniture designs are just as iconic.
Absolutely. Embodying his less is more philosophy. The Barcelona chair, that luxurious combination of supple leather and bright chrome, and the Barcelona daybed, with the same elegant combination, instantly recognizable symbols of modernist luxury.
They look comfortable yet sophisticated.
Exactly. His MR chair and Bruno chair also feature cantilevered seating and leather, showcasing his consistent aesthetic and innovative use of materials. They speak to a new kind of luxury based on clean lines, high-quality materials, and exceptional craftsmanship.
Not elaborate decoration.
Right. And then there's Le Corbusier,
the Swiss-French architect.
Yeah.
Another giant.
His influence is immense. His earlier furniture, perhaps surprisingly, comprised simple, traditional country tables, chairs, and beds, reflecting a focus on basic utility. But he also designed iconic pieces like the Grand Comfort.
Those plush leather cushions in a steel frame.
Exactly. Offering a new take on lounge comfort. And of course, the LC4 chaise lounge, that adjustable chaise with leathered cushions over a minimalist steel frame.
So these pieces, by Breuer, Mies, Le Corbusier, they share common elements.
Definitely. Common elements of style that fundamentally redefined furniture design. One of the most pervasive was cantilevered steel.
Why steel?
Its properties were perfect. Affordable, versatile, durable, lightweight. The cantilever design, where the seat and back are supported from one end, truly fused form and function. It did away with bulky, sprung upholstery and famously reduced chair legs from 4 to 2 or even one continuous curve.
Revolutionary in its simplicity. Felt lighter, more modern.
Absolutely. And then there's plywood and laminated wood. Building on Michael Thonet's bent woodwork, modernist fully exploited bent plywood and laminated wood. This allowed for fewer components, fewer joints, smoother designs, moving towards producing furniture from single pieces of material.
Applying industrial techniques. But wasn't there a paradox? The handcraft paradox.
That's a fascinating point. In an age celebrating the machine and mass production, so much supposedly industrial design was actually made by hand. Many Bauhaus handcrafted prototypes, despite being designed for mass production, were never actually put into widespread industrial production.
Why not?
Ironically, they were considered too radical at the time. They were simply too far ahead of contemporary manufacturing capabilities or public taste. It shows even pioneers sometimes have to wait for the world to catch up.
Bauhaus wasn't just furniture, though. It was a laboratory of modernity in other areas, too.
Definitely. Particularly glass and lamps. The metal workshop especially came closest to fulfilling Gropius's vision of uniting art and industry, becoming a hub of innovation for everyday objects.
Like that Wagenfeld lamp.
The 1924 MTA table lamp by Wilhelm Wagenfeld and Karl Jicker, an instant classic, still in production today, almost a century later. It's pared down to bare essentials: a clean disc base, a slender cylindrical shaft, a perfect domed shade made simply from glass and metal.
Timeless. Beauty and utility.
Exactly. And Christian Dell's table lamp, with its near-hemispherical multi-rotational shade, is another example of many eminently functional designs. Marianne Brandt and Hin Bredendig also designed a notable lamp for Candem hemispherical shade, curved steel stem, pressed glass foot. All about pure utility, elegant form, affordability.
Trying to bring good design to the masses. And textiles.
Significant innovations there, too. Bauhaus fabrics, often printed on cotton and rayon, featured abstract geometric patterns with a pronounced three-dimensional quality, often a diagonal repeat of quadrant forms. Think about the bold graphic patterns still popular today. Many have their roots here.
And Eileen Gray's rug.
Her woolen rug with its solidati, nude torso pattern woven in gray, brown, and black on a cream ground also showcases this abstract approach, bringing modern art into the home through functional objects.
So what are the broader elements of modernist style influenced by Bauhaus?
Well, first, abstract decoration. Movements like Cubism, Futurism, Russian constructivism, English vorticism, all dismissed representational art. Instead, designers celebrated the triumph of the machine with abstract shapes and patterns, using geometric forms and dynamic lines.
And glazes.
Renewed interest there. The raku tradition of Japan, that rapid firing and cooling, led Western ceramicists to experiment with wood-fired climbing kilns. This resulted in huge variations in glaze tones and colors. Matte glazes, especially, complemented smooth surfaces, aligning with the modernist desire for simplicity.
Color was strategic, too.
Very. To modernists, form was more important than ornament, so solid blocks of color were often used to mask texture and throw shape into sharp relief, emphasizing the pure geometric form. Preference for primary colors and monochrome black and white, reinforcing that bold, direct aesthetic.
And Japanese influence kept cropping up.
Significant. Frank Lloyd Wright admired Japanese woodwork. Christopher Dresser, earlier, was captivated by Japanese simplicity. The sparseness of Oriental ceramic design, early Chinese blue and white, Japanese kakimon porcelain, was seen as a precursor of modernist minimalism. Elegance through restraint.
And finally, branding.
Yes, branding. Modernist designers, especially at Bauhaus, worked closely with industry to mass-produce attractive, functional homeware for the general public. Christopher Dresser, long before, introduced branding with his facsimile signature stamped on products. It marked a new era where design met industry, where the designer's identity became part of the product's appeal.
Setting a precedent for modern industrial design and consumer culture. Okay, so we've explored De Stijl and Bauhaus in depth. Let's try to connect them. Both emerged from the aftermath of World War I, right?
Directly. They shared a profound desire for a radical break from the past, embracing a sense of renewal and a new world order in response to the chaos they'd witnessed.
And they both emphasized abstraction.
A shared commitment, moving beyond decorative excesses and sentimental representation. They sought a purer, more fundamental artistic language, one that could communicate universally.
Which led to functionality and simplicity?
Exactly. Both championed simplified forms, reductionism, prioritizing purpose over ornament, the idea of less is more, while explicitly Mies's phrase for Bauhaus resonates deeply with De Stijl's minimalism. Stripping away the unnecessary revealed the inherent beauty and truth.
But they had distinct approaches. De Stijl was about
pure abstraction, a more rigid adherence to rectilinear forms and primary colors, almost a spiritual pursuit of order, a strict aesthetic and philosophical purity, creating ideal, harmonious compositions.
Whereas Bauhaus was about
synthesis, the synthesis of art, craft, and technology. Its explicit aim was towards mass production and functional design for the general public, even if prototypes weren't immediately mass-produced. Bauhaus wanted to build a new world through industrial design, making good design accessible.
And the long shadow these movements cast, it's immense. Their relevance today is everywhere.
Absolutely. Think about it. Clean lines, open spaces, functional design, bold use of color, less is more. These principles are still deeply embedded in contemporary architecture, interior design, graphic design, product development, everything.
So hopefully you listening can now see the familiar modern world through a new lens. When you look at your smartphone, modern furniture, an open office layout, a new building, you're seeing the direct lineage of De Stijl and Bauhaus.
Recognizing the origins, understanding the why, it really is an aha moment, isn't it? These abstract art movements pave the way for practical design solutions that improve our daily living.
Transforming everything from the chairs we sit on to the way our homes are laid out.
It truly does change how you look at everything. So we've journeyed through the crucible of post-WWI Europe, explored the pure abstraction of De Stijl, and witnessed the synthesis of art, craft, and technology in Bauhaus. These movements, born from chaos, radically redefine design, seeking purity, simplicity, and function.
And that leaves us with a provocative thought to ponder. If de Stijl sought universal order through pure abstraction, and Bauhaus sought a new synthesis of art and technology for a modern world, what societal shifts today are quietly brewing the next radical transformations in how we live and design?
Mm-hmm. What new women and new architectures are taking shape in response to our current challenges, even if we can't fully recognize them yet?
It's a powerful question.
Keep your eyes open, observe your surroundings with this newfound understanding, and you might just spot the future taking shape right before your eyes. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.